Hey guys, so it is the second video of the evening, and since I'm not working on, if you watched the video, I might not post in the correct order, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. I shot a video earlier today, actually moments ago, about that hinderer. Now, I am doing a video about something else. We're going to talk about some CRKT knives. Now, I haven't got to spend a lot of time playing with these. These came from Ken Robson, one of my customers. He sent me stuff. He sent me this box. I really want to get this stuff back to him. I've had it forever. He bought my Hornet prototype, and it's still here because I wanted to ship all this stuff back together. I just didn't realize it was going to be this long. So what we've got here, he sent me a bunch of CRKT knives. Well, a couple of CRKT knives, let's say. So I've seen both of these. So this one is the CRKT Thunderstrike. And it is a Crawford design. Both of these are fixed blades. Both of these are fixed blades. And he also sent me a CRKT Sweet Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. Both these are fixed blades. Of the two, I would definitely tell you, even though Americanized Tonto's not my favorite, this one would be my favorite of the two. Explain why. This knife is a lot in hand with very little, a very small blade. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. I'm still all distracted. So I'll turn the camera around and we'll look at it. Maybe. These really don't need that much of a detail. They're just fixed blades. Wrapped handle on this one. Now, I don't know if this is a handle that Ken did himself. But, you know, there's some aesthetics to this. Nice little harpoon-looking blade. It's not a bad blade shape. What I will say is that the way the blade is ground, it could definitely use with a sharpening notch. Because you can see where they just didn't even start grinding there at the Ricasso. Not too thick, pretty light. I can't see the steel on this, which always makes me suspect. But the thing is, I can feel it as I go down. This blade has got a very prominent curvature to it, where it's been ground harder one way than the other. So that could be, you can definitely see it. There's some twisting and things like that to this blade. So, is it a bad blade? No. These aren't that expensive. They're pretty easy to replace. Got a nice sheath that you can wear as a neck knife if you so choose. But in a pinch, not a bad little knife in a pinch if you needed something as a beater. Now this one appeals to me because it's just slick and thin and get right up in between the ribs, up in between them lower ribs, get that lung, and then up into the heart from up behind. Oh, sorry. That way they can't scream because you popped their lungs. I'm just kidding. But this one is got a much better grind to it than that one. This knife, actually, even being more narrow from here to here, is much thinner behind the edge than that one. So both of them come, you know, CRKT doesn't do a bad job with sheaths. CRKT's not a bad company. They're one of those companies that for a while were making pretty decent quality stuff, and then stuff is tapered off. And the joke is, well, if you've even thought of having a knife design, CRKT will make it. And, you know, which is sad because I liked CRKT. Actually, the first flipper knife that started my passion with buying flippers was a CRKT. It was an M16T. It was Kit Carson design. M16T, which was a titanium handled flipper. It was a really nice knife. I actually took the titanium scales off the first time I ever modified a knife for anyone before I ever even really met the guys up at Fair & Forge. Took that knife apart and I cleaned it up real good and I heat colored the scales on it. I sold it to a friend of mine, a bosun mate friend of mine. So it was pretty cool. It was a nice knife. So the other knives that he has sent me, now I have actually owned one of these. This is a SOG Flash, which is a assisted opening, small little pocket knife that has a lock on it, so you actually can lock it back here. I was trying to find it. This is smaller now. I had the Flash 2. This is a Flash 1. Nice little knife. It's got the release for the lock on it right here. And it snaps. These things popped open nice. I actually felt really bad when I lost my Flash 2. But this is the Flash 1. This is small. What I will say about SOG knives, they are not horrible. They're not horrible. I had a Flash, but the problem I've always had with them, their steel is always run really soft. It always just seems like it just doesn't want to hold it. And then there's no liners in this. It's just an all plastic knife, so you get some flex. I don't know if you guys can see that. Other than that, I mean, really, that's not an issue. This is not a super hard use knife. It's just one of those things that I notice. And there's, you know, there's some blade play in that. I actually tried to tighten down the pivot to get rid of some of the blade play, but the problem was the action wasn't as free. The action wasn't as free with it when you took that pivot and tightened it down to where there was no play. Now, I'm sure there's a happy medium. This one reminds me a lot of some Benchmade knives where you tighten the pivot down and then you tighten it like, and it's tight as hell, and oh, it's loose, and you got wobble, and you got to keep playing that pivot back and forth, just the fucking tiniest of turns to get the pivot the way you want it without over tightening it. And it's just, I think a lot could be done with some of those knives, something like this, if you had some shouldered hardware that would take you get the blade pivot the way you want, and your shouldered hardware lock everything in position. The other thing I've never liked about the Flash knives, if you happen to be like, I was still active duty when I had my Flash 2, and I'd be running from place to place, and you just hear that rattle and just drive you nuts. You're like, what the fuck is rattling? I got something in my pocket? Nope, it's my knife. Pocket clip on it. The pocket clips on these are part of the construction. They're down inside the plastic. You can't really very easily do any disassembly on these, because if you look, the hardware has been drilled out. It really has. There's no way to take this knife apart, because everything that was in there, all those screws and everything, where you would have a spot for, well, that one almost still has it. I think you could. I guess these ones aren't like my old one. I think you can. I think these are actually, no, it's pretty smooth. It's pretty smooth. I'm not seeing any flats in there anymore to take it apart. So there's the Flash 1. And I know that I'm running through this and I'm not using a rear-facing camera. I will get some rear-facing of all the knives I'm talking about, but I want to get this video done. I really want to get this stuff out to Ken. I've had his stuff way too long. He's been a great guy, and he hasn't said a word about it. He paid me for the knife that I made and then sold him, and then has not once said anything about the fact I still have the knife he paid for. The last knife that he sent me is a Mirage. Now, I don't see a brand. It's 6713. It's made in Taiwan. This is a CRKT, isn't it? This is a CRKT Mirage. Okay, there we go. I'm a dummy, it just didn't look hard enough. So, this is a Hammond design. H-A-M-M-O-N-D, Hammond design. Hammond, this is, I'm not gonna lie, it's a pretty comfortable knife. And I saved this one for last because this is the one that out of all 4 of them that he sent me, this is the one I like. Like, this is not a bad knife at all. Even though I'm not a big fan of the serrations, what they've done is they use those scalloped serrations that, let me get in here where you guys can see. Those are a much better design for serrations, in my opinion, than other, come on, focus. There we go. Much better design for serrations. I think they cut better than other serrations that are out there. I like those scallop serrations. Some of the best steak knives I've ever owned have that same serration, but they're not the small little ripping points, but those big scallops. Those do a really good job on certain things. And this still obviously has a factory edge on it, but it's nice and sharp. So I don't see anything really on the steel per se. I know I see 6713. I don't know if that's a steel variant or not. But a lot of the CRKT knives run on the nylon washers, and I'm not gonna lie to you, this thing's pretty smooth. This thing is pretty smooth. You know, it used to be a thing, oh, it's nylon washers. Oh, it's nylon washers or Teflon washers or stuff like that, and people would complain, and I'm like, you know, some of the knives that I have owned that were some of the smoothest had those. Problem is they don't seem to last near as long, and what happens is those things wear out, and then, you know, you get slop and play, and it just doesn't want to go. And the other thing is, if you get that knife put together wrong and that thin little, maybe it'll have a brass washer, like a phosphor bronze washer, and then one of those little nylotron or nylon or Teflon, I think they're nylon washers over the top of it to give it some smoothness. Sometimes you'll get those bent, and then they never feel the same again. Once you get one of those little thin, basically plastic washers bent, it's never going to feel the same again. So let me get this turned around. Let me get it turned around, and we'll take a quick look at all of them, okay? So, hold on just a second. All right, guys. Real quick to look at them here. So I'm sorry if this video is not up to the usual snuff. So this is that Thunder Strike, the Crawford design, and like I said, it's fairly comfortable. I would imagine if this was something that Ken did, that this knife was probably pretty uncomfortable prior to that wrap. But you know, it's just a standard thing. But you can see, can you see how that blade just takes a turn? It's not uncommon. A lot of blades wind up that way. It irritates me, but you know, it is what it is. So here is that Sweet Kiss, which is a Halligan design. This is not a bad knife. This is more like a traditional style clutch dagger. It's really small, really thin, really light. It would be something that, like, this would be something that I would say would go in a boot and do very well as a last ditch device to defend yourself. I'm not gonna say weapon, because you could still do a lot of work with this. This has a nice big belly. You could do a lot of menial, like, task and work and things like this. It would be a good EDC knife. But as far as, like, as a last ditch weapon, this would do a very good job in a boot in that point of use. So here's the Flash 1. I mean, I know you guys have seen these before. Your lock does rattle, like I said. That was my only thing I had wrong with my Flash 2. Now it's you have a lock on it, so it won't come undone if you happen to catch it on something. But they do. They snap open really well, and it's a really good blade design. This knife is a really good blade design. Like I said, the only problem I've ever had with SOGs was their steel, their heat treat, how soft their steel was. And then here is the Mirage, that CRKT Mirage. And like I said, those, if I was going to have a knife that was serrated, that would be, they're almost like the exact opposite of a Spidey serration. These big scallops here. These do a really good job. Now, the problem is they will get dull on the points. Spidey serrations have a tendency to last longer. These, I think, are a more aggressive cutter up front until they get dull. And then, like I said, nice thin, ground well. Nice acute point, focus. And it's not a bad knife. There's some chips and stuff on it, but you can feel that this thing was ridiculous sharp when it first came. And then the action on it is just, it's pretty smooth. It's pretty smooth. And the thing is, it's really comfortable. This one is really comfortable, except for that jimping right there on the liner lock. So, all right, guys, I just wanted you guys to be able to get a good, you know, an upfront. I was trying to get the video done and get everything talked about as quickly as possible, but I also wanted you guys to be able to see them up close and things like that, because there's, I mean, CRKTs aren't like garbage gas station knives. I mean, they're in that price point as you're going up from like CRKT and then SOG, and then you get into some of your higher tier knives. They are a decent work knife. I've owned several of them. My only problem, like I said, my problem was the steel, the way the steel held an edge and the way it cut. So, all right, guys, that's it. There is one more video, one more that I really want to shoot. I'm just trying to think how I'm going to do it. So, it's not going to happen today. Pretty sure it's not going to happen today. I shot a video for my, this is actually the third video that got shot today. I shot a video for my Patreons. I shot a video for you guys. I did a live feed on Instagram. It's been a busy day. I actually didn't get anything accomplished except that, and the t-shirts got ordered. So if you did not get me money, you did not get a t-shirt, with the exception of 3 specific individuals that I made contact with, and I have items of theirs at my house, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get the money for the t-shirts. So, all right, guys, take it easy. Take care of each other. I'll see you next time. Later.